Hello class. I will be presenting or defending the argument or claim God exists because it is a topic that truly interests me and one that I believe carries earthly and eternal importance. I believe that one's view of whether or not God exists directly affects how one perceives his or her identity and purpose, consequently how one lives, and can ultimately affect one's eternal destiny. I will submit a few pieces of evidence or support that I have been able to briefly research and explore. Number one, the existence of God is the only way to account for the origin of the universe. Generally, modern science and scientists have tried and continue to try to explain the origin of the universe through natural causes. However, many Christian philosophers over the centuries have provided logical arguments for why God is the sole explanation for the beginning of the universe. 13th century philosopher Thomas Aquinas claims that it is impossible for something to be the cause of itself, for so it would be prior to itself. It is not possible for causes to go on to infinity. Therefore, it is necessary to have a first cause. Another argument that Aquinas provides is that things come into existence through something already existing. Aquinas explains that a contingent cause, meaning something that relies on something else for existence, depends on the existence of a necessary cause, meaning something that is self-sufficient. In order for anything to exist, there must have been a first cause that does not depend on anything else in order to exist. The existence of God, number two, the existence of God is the only way to account for the fine-tuning of the universe. Or, as William Lane Craig puts it, and the person I'll be referring to for this piece of evidence, Craig puts it, the complex and delicate balance of initial conditions necessary for the existence of intelligent life. Generally, modern science and scientists have tried and continue to try to explain the fine-tuning of the universe according to the physical necessity or chance. To begin with, physical necessity seems to be an implausible explanation because it irrationally requires its believers to accept that a life-prohibiting universe is physically impossible when it is possible, according to Craig. Regarding chance, scientists like Richard Dawkins suggest that our universe could be one of a number of existing universes that is finely tuned. There is no logical or mathematical evidence that multiple universes exist and can be observed in the first place, as Craig points out. There is much more to suggest that the universe is finely tuned. For example, the odds of our universe's low entropy condition obtaining by chance alone are on the order of 1 to 10 to the 10th power times 123. I don't know if I said that right, but you can feel free to check my notes to clarify that. Therefore, the most logical explanation to such fine-tuning is the existence of a designer, i.e., God. Number three, the existence of God is the only way to account for the existence of objective moral values. In Western societies, postmodernism has instilled in the minds of many the idea that objective moral values do not exist. On the other hand, some scholars, like Sam Harris, seem to argue that it is foolish to think that objective moral values do not exist, yet contend that belief in God is not necessary for the existence of objective morality. Christian writer, scholar, and philosopher C.S. Lewis submits that people know there is an objective moral standard because they appeal to it, though they may not fully understand it. These very people also know that they cannot live up to this objective moral standard. Lewis continues by saying, "There is something which is directing the universe, and which appears in me as a law urging me to do right and making me feel responsible and uncomfortable when I do wrong. I think we have to assume it is more like a mind than it is like anything else we know. Because after all, the only other thing we know is matter, and you can hardly imagine a bit of matter giving instructions. But of course, it need not be very like a mind, still less like a person. Only in recognizing that there's an objective moral law, the power behind the law, and that all have broken the law, making themselves wrong with the power, quote, is when Christianity begins to talk, end quote, according to C.S. Lewis. And that's his book, Mere Christianity. As mentioned in the beginning of this video, I believe that the claim God exists is important to critically analyze because one's view of whether or not God exists directly affects how one perceives his or her identity and purpose, consequently how one lives, and can ultimately affect one's eternal destiny. I hope you as a class are challenged by this argument for the existence of God and continue to explore how the Christian God that exists wants to have a personal relationship with you and with others. I don't know where each of you stand spiritually, but I think being able to learn apologetics in this sense is very beneficial both to the believer, who can be strengthened in knowing who God is, and to the non-believer in coming to see God for who He is for the first time, and especially as it relates to the person of Jesus Christ. I'll be posting a document on my discussion board post that has the notes that I was going through, as well as some of the sources that I looked up for this for your own sake. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. Thanks.